In the words of the Black Eyed Peas, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
LegacyMaker, the All Sports Network, presents a SIRTOBA media production where the struggle is real to be awesome.
5, 4, 3, 2.
The wait is over.
He hasn't even played a full rookie season yet. He just started this year. Why are you going to give this kid a $210 million on paper when he's only been a rookie at 21 years old, okay? Nobody in the history of the game has done that before, has just showed up, Johnny Go Blank yourself, has showed up at 21 years old and got $200 and some million and hasn't even played a full rookie season in the majors yet.
Drew, come on, he's an all-star. He made it to the final round of the home run derby. I mean, like, statistically speaking, he is one of the best rookies that has ever stepped foot on a baseball field.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for the In or Out sports debate with your hosts,
Joey Raymond
and Drew Willingham.
Hello, everyone. We are live with episode 61 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's special returning panelist, 7-time Vault of Fame inductee, Virginia Tech Hokie alumni, one of my Geek Squad brethren. Give it up for Joey Raymond. Welcome back to the show, brother.
What's up, man? This is fun. I love this.
Hey, man, I love having you here, man. We have a blast every other week with your appearances here on the show, and we got a great one ahead of us today with 6 topics. We have a bonus topic this evening to discuss 6 topics this evening. And before we get started, we have to acknowledge one thing, and that is the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man, Drew Willingham.
That's right, you guys. That's the Vault of Fame of the In or Out Sports Debate, acknowledging the previous participants here on the show. Right now, we are in episode 61 with the one and only JR, Joey Raymond. We hear the LegacyMaker Sports Network handles. LegacyMaker Sports Network is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, the new TikTok account as well. And you can check out all the latest on the sports action articles and videos on the LegacyMakerSports.com. The In or Out Sports Debate is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms listed here on Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download the episodes individually on iTunes. Last but not least, SIRTOBA Media, the company that brings the video productions here for me. He's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as of right now. You can check out everything on as well, the latest on SIRTOBA.com. And coming soon, the YouTube channel for The Struggle is Real to be Awesome. And look at that awesome beard that I rocked at one time. It was definitely a pretty sweet thing. I got to bring that unit back when I cut the hair. But right now we are in episode 61, the one and only Joey Raymond. And like I said, my man here and I, we're Geek Squad brethren. With that being said, let's take a look at this picture right here. My guy right here. Remember we took that picture? We were in the rain. Got the rain on the shirt. You're in the jacket. Oh, look at those cool glasses I got on right there.
Dude, I had to replace that jacket after this picture because it was so wet.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it rained pretty. I remember that last day. That was the last day of that project, and it was raining pretty hard, as you can see. And, that beard was holding up pretty good, and that bandana, that was as the hair was growing out, man. It's definitely, as you guys can see, it's a lot longer now. So, I had to do the hair flip. I did it on a show yesterday on the lunch show that was the midday sports with Rod and the lunch crew. I was on there yesterday. So shout out to the Rod Uncensored podcast, as well as Snowman in the Morning with the Snowman in the Morning Plus. I did a double feature yesterday afternoon. So thank you guys for taking the time to have me on there. But yeah, that's where it all started right there with that bandana and that longer hair. So,
thank God that I grew a beard.
Yeah, man, you definitely better than what you had going on there, my man. But hey, it's better than being babyface shaved. But with that said, we've had a little fun to start this show out. Let's go ahead and take this into round one and talk some sports action.
Round one.
And here with round one, let's take it to some NCAA basketball. The Virginia Tech Hokies men's basketball team look poised for a great run this season. How do you feel about this one, Joseph? Are you going to have a homer pick? Are you going to be in, or are you going to be out on this one?
First of all, I love that picture of us winning the ACC championship. That was a great memory of mine. I loved watching that whole thing. Oh man, to see them do it in the fashion that they did with as many walk-offs and different things and how they got there was just fantastic. With this, I'm going to go in. Albeit I am a little biased. But with only one loss this far, so far this season, I mean, they look like a great basketball team. They're playing together really well. They do have some consistency issues from beyond the arc. Some games they literally hit every single one. And then other games they really struggle to hit beyond the arc. But they've got a lot of really good bigs with Camden and Mutz and, a couple of the other guys that they've got that are a little bit younger. But, they got a lot of really good transfers this year. Grant Pasili has done a really good job kind of facilitating where things are going. Sean Padula has really taken charge. And then Justin Mutz is really kind of the quarterback of this team and really kind of guides them in a way that, just communicates in a way that I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've seen NBA players communicate as well as Justin Mutz does. And when you're there in the arena, like I've been to Castle a couple times this season, and you can hear him over the crowd yelling and screaming like, hey, this guy's there, that guy's there. Like, this is what we got to do. And he's just an intense presence on the floor. They shoot really well and they find ways to win close games. They just beat a really good Penn State team. And they ended up losing to the College of Charleston in the final. I don't think anybody expected the College of Charleston to do as well as they did in that tournament. And then they turn around, they come home, they play, a couple games at home, and they just won last night against a really good Big Ten team in Minnesota. And I mean, it was an electric environment in Castle, and it was such a great game to watch. I would say that this team has a really good shot of, making a deep run in the NCAA tournament. I don't know if they're quite a Final Four team yet, but man, are they getting close. I mean, to think at this point last year, we were struggling because we couldn't play as a cohesive unit. This year, like, they're playing really well together. They look like a really solid basketball team. I think there's a couple, communication things that they have to do when Justin Mutz is not on the floor. But outside of that, I mean, this is a good basketball team. First in the ACC right now, shooting 78% overall from, pretty much anywhere. I mean, that's a high percentage of shots that they're making. I mean, this is a good team. Like, this is a really good team. They've got the potential to do a lot this year.
Yeah, and even though you got a little bit of a homer pick here to an extent, but you brought a lot of great facts to it. I'm going to agree with Joey on this. I'm in as well. So with the facts that Joey brought up here, I mean, it's really hard to disagree with what he was saying. And when you put it all into perspective and you think about where they were at last year in a 20-game season, they were 11-9 last year, and they're already 7-1, and we're like pretty much like we can easily say we're a little over. We're about a third of the way through the season now because they got 23 games left. Almost a third of the way once they play like 2 more games in a 30-game season this season. So when you think about everything as a whole and what they have coming up, they have the 18th ranked UNC Tar Heels this Sunday, the 4th, 3:00, followed by the unranked Dayton, Oklahoma State, Grambling State, Boston College, Wake Forest, Clemson, and NC State to start the first week of January, leading up into that. So when you think about the teams that they have on their upcoming schedule, the ones that I see them giving them the most trouble would probably be the Tar Heels, the 18th ranked Tar Heels, and probably NC State, as that's another team rival that's in their division. Because here with the Atlantic Coast Conference, you got Virginia on the top, who are undefeated, and they're also been a powerhouse the past few years as a recent national champion in the past few years. You got as an overall record, Tech 7-1, 5-0 at home. They've only had their one loss away. They got a winning streak of 2 straight games. Thinking about with their schedule that they've had, they just finished playing Minnesota, yesterday, winning by 10, and they played Charleston, Friday, by winning by 5. And there's pretty decent teams. Minnesota's like, one of those up and coming teams right there as well. And, playing Charleston and Charleston Southern, last week, Charleston was the one that they lost to by 2 points, and their only loss, which was away. So when you think about that, and they're doing as well as they are at home, and this guy is one that attends a lot of their games because he lives in the area and is alumni. So if there's anybody that's going to, I'm going to trust their insider stuff on the Virginia Tech Hokies, it's going to be this guy right here.
Yeah, I really do like watching this team. I mean, I grew up watching college basketball, having family that lived in Lexington, Kentucky. You kind of grow up watching the Kentucky Wildcats, and I still watch a lot of the Kentucky Wildcats, and they are really good this year too. But to go back on the Hokies, I mean, they are a really entertaining team to watch. They take the extra pass. They play in a way that is really confusing to defend, because they have so many really good shooters, and they have backup plans for their backup plans, and those backup plans have backup plans, and every single player they put on the floor can beat you. And if this team is playing right, like I would say they could probably beat anybody out there. But the biggest thing is consistency from beyond the arc. Because there's been games like, I don't remember exactly what game it was. I think it was Old Dominion, where they went 2 for 8 from beyond the arc in the first half. I mean, it was abysmal. So, I mean, if you go out and, you only make 2 3-pointers in the first half of a game, like, you're not going to win a really big game. And especially when you've got like UVA that you're going to have to play twice. UVA is a great squad who very well could win the national championship again. But they've got to be really careful in how they play. And they really need to get more consistent. I think if they show that they can be consistent, then this team is going to be really hard to beat. Just because of the fact that they have so many shooting options. Defense needs a little bit of help, but I mean, like I said, I mean, their offense is so hard to defend. I mean, they can outscore just about anybody.
It's going to be interesting to watch. We definitely have a lot of this season left. It's still just the very beginning, so there's still a lot of time to tell. And with that, we still have some other topics to go through. Let's go ahead and take this into round 2.
Round 2.
A guy that Mr. Raymond is very, very familiar with, as he's followed the Yankees for quite some time as well. And this guy right here, Aaron Judge, could have a better future in a different uniform next season. How do you feel about this one, Joey? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I had to break out the baseball through this. I this one really tore me. Like, it really did. It took a lot to really kind of think about his situation and kind of what he's gone through. But for this one, I'm going to have to go with out. As I've said a million times on this podcast, Aaron Judge is going to be a Yankee. I just don't believe that the Yankees can let him walk. I mean, we're talking that he is the best Yankee to step foot on that field. As far as icon-wise, he is the best since Derek Jeter. He is the captain of this team, and it should be he needs to sign the contract and then immediately be appointed the C on the chest, because let me tell you, he is way worthy of that. And if the Yankees don't see that, and if the Yankees let him walk, they will be making the biggest mistake of their life. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, the Giants do have a good shot to get him, because, I mean, that is Aaron Judge's boyhood team. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, if I could play for a team like the Chicago Cubs or the New York Yankees, the two teams that I grew up watching as a kid, I absolutely would. However, I am not a Major League Baseball player, nor am I Aaron Judge, nor do I have the talent of Aaron Judge. God, do I wish. But it's one of those things where, it's just the Yankees can't let this man walk. He is too valuable of an asset to the Yankees, to George Steinbrenner, and to the Steinbrenner family. You can't let a player like that walk. You just can't do it. And if you do, the Yankees will be making a horrible mistake. I don't care how much money he wants. You're going to earn it back in revenue shares and anything anyways. I mean, hell, his jerseys alone will probably pay his contract. But they need to sign Aaron Judge, no matter what the cost. Although I don't blame Aaron for going to free agency at all. Like, hear what everybody else has to say, and drive that Yankees price up. They didn't want to pay you when you wanted to be paid to begin with. I would make the Yankees pay every single cent.
Hey, speaking of hearing what everybody else has to say, you bring up some very good points with that, but for the sake of debate, I'm going to go in. And the reason why I go in is because of the stupid amount of money being paid in contracts nowadays. There's 3 teams that, were reported before the season was even over that were interested in Aaron Judge this offseason. The number one person being on the poll would be the Yankees, of course, because that's the team he's been with his entire career. But the other 2 teams that were leaked before this whole Giants thing that was recently came out was the LA Angels and the LA Dodgers, because, like you said, he's from that area. So going to the West Coast and going somewhere where he's familiar with as he grew up there, he's going to be closer to home, where a lot of people that couldn't come to New York to see him can actually come to where he would be playing there. So that's probably going to be a motivating factor if he does actually end up leaving New York. If a team offers him 10 years and $500 million, though, Joey, he's going to go to that team. I mean, even though we should learn from the Albert Pujols contract situation with the Angels before, just because you're going to get the money doesn't mean you're going to have a great time and have great success. Pujols did good enough to where he hit enough average of home runs every single year to where it kept him in the race for 700 when he came to St. Louis. Aaron Judge needs to be thinking about that too. If he wants to actually come close to even hitting 600 home runs one day, which he could definitely still do that. He's young enough to do it if he stays healthy enough. He needs to put himself in a position to where he not only plays for a team that's going to compensate him well, but also has a good chance of making a good postseason run, but also a team that plays consistently within hitters' ballparks. And, specifically his home one needs to be a hitter's ballpark, because you're going to be playing half the games there in a season. When you think about his Yankees run this past season, they wouldn't have even come as close as they did to that playoff run or even had a playoff run had he not done what he did with the home run hitting and within his home run chase this past year, because that kept the Yankees' excitement at a high, but it also kept them motivationally ready for the playoffs, because had he not had that good run, had he been hurt and not have only played like the first half of the season, they wouldn't have even made the playoffs, let alone actually done anything. So when you think about everything as a whole, and he's thinking about this contract situation, why would he want to put himself back in a situation to where he has to be the guy every single day? He needs some help around him as he's getting older. He's going to be thinking about that with his contract negotiations. Like, he wants to put himself in a situation to where the team can also afford other help. He wants to get compensated fairly for the talents that he has, but at the same time, he wants to actually play for a team that's a contender, that can be a contender with the other talent around him and not just himself.
Well, let's be real here. There's not many teams that can afford this Aaron Judge contract. There's only going to be a select few. And everything that I've seen says that like the biggest give or take is going to be whether it's the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Rangers. Because those are the only teams right now that it looks like are willing to spend Aaron Judge money. Now, I will say this. I think no matter where he signs, I think you're going to have that problem of, does he have enough help around you? I think the only team that you could like seriously say that is the Dodgers, where he would have enough help around him where he doesn't necessarily have to be the guy. And I think the Dodgers payroll is just too high to even consider signing Aaron Judge. Granted, they did go out and get Freddie Freeman and a bunch of other guys, and they are not afraid to spend money. So, you can never count the Dodgers out. The Giants, like you mentioned, the home ballpark, is that going to help him? But that ballpark out in San Francisco, I mean, that's a deep outfield. I don't think he hits as many home runs if he's in San Francisco. Same thing with Citi Field. I don't think he hits as many home runs if he flips over to Queens, because that outfield is huge. I think his best fit is in New York. I think the best future for Aaron Judge is in New York. He has to be a Yankee. It just doesn't make sense otherwise. That's like saying, Big Papi is going to go somewhere else, or Derek Jeter is going to go somewhere else. Granted, at the same time, you said that with Tom Brady too. You said, Tom Brady's not going to go anywhere else. He's going to be a Patriot for the rest of his life. And then, sure enough, he goes to Tampa Bay. So you never know what these athletes are thinking, but it's just so hard for me to see Aaron Judge in another uniform other than New York.
Random question, Joey. We'll go off topic with this. We'll go off the rails for a second. When it comes to all-time great shortstops, Derek Jeter or Cal Ripken Jr.?
If I were building a team, I would go with Cal Ripken Jr. only because of the fact that he played more games at a consistent basis. If you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, I would say Cal Ripken Jr. just because he's going to play every day. Derek Jeter put his body on the line every single play. And, I love Derek Jeter. By far one of my favorite players to watch growing up. But he got hurt a lot because he gave up his body all the time. I mean, every play that he made was 150% max effort. So if I were the GM of a team, which I don't know that anybody wants me to GM their team, but if I was the GM of a team, I would pick consistency for sure. I would definitely pick Cal Ripken Jr. Although out of those two, I mean, I don't know that you can go wrong. I mean, both of those players are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare the numbers, Derek Jeter did do a great job, but he was halfway a product of what that organization was around him. If Cal Ripken Jr. had the talent around him, had you put Cal Ripken Jr. on the Yankees during the time that Derek Jeter was there, and Cal Ripken Jr. was like in his prime, like he was in like the early 80s, if he was the age of Derek Jr. and started all the way through, that team would have won more World Series and he would be even more of a legend. I don't know if he would have had the consecutive game streak because of the pressures of New York, but Cal Ripken Jr., in my opinion, will forever be the greatest shortstop of all time, and it was great to be alive during the time that he played and to be able to see a lot of good play from him, even leading up to when he retired too. So, and that last at bat in the All-Star game where he had the home run, I mean, that's just a legendary way to go out at 40 years old, man. So definitely a great career there. But, after 2 rounds, we have some breaking news to announce. And that breaking news is this. Next Tuesday, December 6th, episode 62 is here. Kyle Nash returns for his second time on the In or Out Sports Debate as we bring you episode 62 at 8:05 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday here on the LegacyMaker Sports Network, presented by them and produced by SIRTOBA Media. I am here, though, with Joey Raymond for episode 61, however, as we have gone through 2 of the 6 rounds so far on this show. Let's go ahead and take this into round 3 as we go into another sports topic with some hockey.
Round 3.
And here with round 3, we'll talk about a team that's been hot after the start of this season. The Boston Bruins' hot start to this season won't mean anything come playoff time. How do you feel about this one, Joey? Are you in or are you out on this one?
They have been a lot of fun to watch this season. With this topic, though, I'm in. And the only reason that I am in, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Boston Bruins are a fantastic hockey team. They're doing things this season that the NHL has never seen. They won 12 consecutive home games en route to breaking an NHL record. Against the Carolina Hurricanes, which hurt my heart a little bit. But the Bruins have played 21 games this year. They've won 18 of them. That's a mark only done 6 other times this year. They are definitely one of the best teams in the NHL so far, and by far. I don't think anybody saw them being this good this year, but the reason that I am in on this topic is because come playoff time, nothing matters. Nothing. The record doesn't matter at all. It all comes down to who is hot when. Take example from the MLB playoffs this year with the Philadelphia Phillies. They barely squeaked in there, went on a run, made it all the way to the World Series, and albeit they didn't win, but their record stated that they should not have been there. They were an island of misfit toys. The San Diego Padres, they made a run this year. Again, did not have as good of a record as the Dodgers or the Braves. So when it comes to the playoffs, I don't think the record matters. I don't think whatever streak that you had in the regular season, albeit this one is a pretty cool one, because no one has started, 12 consecutive home games with a win. No one. That's never been done before. And so that's really cool. And that's a record that they should be proud of. But when it comes to playoff time, all bets are off. It's going to come down to who's hot when, and who's playing the best at the time. Who do they get pinned up against? Do they get put up against a wild card team who's on a hot streak? Do they get, an easy path to the Stanley Cup? Who knows? And for that, I am in.
Well, that's a great topic there, Joey, with NHL and your thoughts with that. It's still very early in the season to see how things go. However, I got to agree with you on this one. I'm in on this as well. Joey put a lot of good things together for that take with the Bruins, and I have to agree with him on that. When you think about everything when it comes to NHL playoff time, all bets are off. And even though they're 18-3 to start this season, In the Eastern Conference, that's not even the best record, as the New Jersey Devils are 19-4. Even though the Devils have one more loss, they've played one more game than them, or whatnot, or two more games than them. They played 23 games so far, as the Bruins have played 21. I just like how they're doing. They're on a 3-game winning streak. In the past 10 games, they're 9-1. And the Bruins are 8-2. And again, we are talking about early in the season. You can't count on what they're doing now to be what they do, at the end of the season, because once the playoffs start, all bets are off. Things are different. And that's like that with any sport, whether it's football, baseball, as we just saw this past year with the Phillies being the wild card team in the last wild card spot to make it all the way to the World Series and losing, but they still made it there. When you think about hockey and like you've liked to talk about before, how physical it is and how that definitely impacts a game. If you got guys getting slammed up in the boards and you got certain people spending 5 minutes in the penalty box, even though that's a lot less severe penalty than what you would have in football for doing something like that, those 5 minutes still add up. Like, you need your talent on the ice. So if you're fighting and you're spending time in the penalty box when you should be defending or scoring or whatnot within the game of hockey, that all that time adds up. So that's why I like the mathematical part of hockey, because it can still be physical, but there's still repercussions for the actions that can definitely affect your team. Because if you've got a power play where you've got one more than the other team on the ice, it's going to definitely be working in your favor, to where percentage-wise you score more goals that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, when you go on the power play, I mean, again, like, all bets are off, because you've got to be really careful with how you handle that power play. A majority of the teams just fire it back down the ice. But I do love watching, when a team tries to go down there and get a shorthanded goal. There's a lot of strategy that goes into how to handle those power plays. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on, the strategy that you take into any given game. And then again, it depends on, it's kind of like a boxing match. It depends on who's giving the hits when, when do you have the hot hand versus when do they have the hot hand? And then it's about defending the goal. Can you, truly put your team in a position to where the other team can't get as many shots on goal? Because, I mean, it's cliche, but, Wayne Gretzky said it best: you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. If you are constantly up there firing at the goal, eventually one of them is going to go in. So yeah, I mean, hockey is a great sport, and it's so much fun to watch, and it's so fast paced. And, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year and kind of watch what happens, as far as, how, it goes down the path this year. I think there's a lot of really good teams out there, but I'm excited to see who can make a Stanley Cup playoff run. The playoffs this year are going to be crazy, because I mean, you think we've talked about the East teams so far, in this podcast. We talked about the Canes last pod, we talked about the Bruins this pod, but I mean, there's still a lot of good teams in the West. We haven't even touched the Colorado Avalanche, who won the Stanley Cup last year.
I think Victor and I did. I think Victor and I talked about that a couple episodes ago. I definitely did talk about the Avalanche. It's just with so many episodes, I can't remember which one it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Victor. I know I didn't talk about it with you, but
right.
I brought them up, recently, because they were, the champs. But, the champs came out of the Western Conference last year, so it would be, we don't want to throw too much shade on them or anything, because it's definitely a good chance that, we see another Western Conference champion. But, it's definitely not going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm sorry, Joey. We were talking about that in the last episode. One of the previous ones.
I can hope. A boy can dream.
I know, man. Speaking of dreaming, we've got a lot of comments here from the fans. Let's go ahead and take this into the medial mayhem and acknowledge our comments from the fans. Guys, keep them coming as we acknowledge the comments in the middle of the show and at the end of the show. Let's go ahead and see what you guys got to say so far. And here with the midway point of the show, since Joey's taking a sip before we acknowledge the comments from the fans, these comments are sponsored by SIRTOBA Media and the SIRTOBA Media coffee mug, established in 2021. So check out your video production services by yours truly there at SIRTOBA Media. But with that being said, we've got some comments to acknowledge from the fans, and a good amount of them so far. Speaking of SIRTOBA Media, I started us off with the first comment. Let's go, as I was hyped getting ready for this show earlier today. Joseph is back, says Melvin Turismo. Is excited about Joey being back. Melvin's a new fan, as he's been commenting on the past couple episodes, so thank you, Melvin, for being back. One of our crew members here at the LegacyMaker Sports Network is watching. Episode 61 is here, and excited about that. Welcome back, fellas, says VFE Productions. Another day, another rendition of epic sports debate. Bring the fire, Joey. And Joey has definitely been bringing that fire. And, when you think about everything, when Joey's here to do that, we got to bring our guys from the crowd to do this. Absolutely. Been here bringing the fire. So thank you for that comment there, Steven. Welcome to the show there, sir. Comments continue with Jedediah Jedson. Jed's in the house. Let's go. Derek Medea's here and says, holy expletive, 61 episodes. Just trying to keep it good here on the episode. What's up, guys, says Rod Isaac. Rod is the one that had me on his show yesterday for the midday sports talk with Rod and the lunch crew. So thank you for having me on again there, Rod, with that. It says, what's up, Drew, again. Derek Medea says, yo, after he had just commented earlier. UVA will be tough to get past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. That's a tough team.
Yeah. And UVA has definitely been like this during this season.
I'll be back.
It wasn't too long ago that they were national champions, so we definitely could see something special again in UVA, as they are at the top of the division so far in that division. With Derek Medea comes back with Virginia Tech could win it all the way they are starting out.
I think, if Virginia Tech is at its best, like I said earlier, and that's the key, at its best, I think that they could beat anybody in the country. I do. But again, they do have consistency issues from beyond the arc, and their defense can be iffy at times. And they have a really bad habit of giving me a heart attack and giving up a lot of points in the last 5 minutes of the second half. If all of those things stop happening, then yeah, I think Virginia Tech has a shot. That they could, but who knows?
My guy Alex here says breakfast for dinner tomorrow, in or out.
I actually had breakfast for dinner today.
So Joey's in. My guy Alex Douglas Alex right here. You know what? I'm in on this as well. Thanks for the comment there, brother, and for watching the show. I appreciate it. So had to give you a little love right there with that. So with that, let's go ahead into the next one. Derek says, good points, Joey and D. Willie, when we were talking about Virginia Tech. That was around that time based on the timestamp of the comments. Thank you, Derek, for the acknowledgement there. Judge is staying in New York, but going to the Mets.
I don't know, man. Joey. I think that they have the money. And it would not surprise me if after this whole thing is over, if we find out that no matter where Judge lands, like as a hypothetical, say he goes back to the Yankees, it wouldn't surprise me if later we find out that the Mets offered him more money because they have that kind of money. But I don't know. I just don't think that ballpark's a good fit. I just think baseball hitters, that's where hitters go to die.
Absolutely. And Joey's out. Based on the debacle of how the Mets finished the year and were thumped as early as they were in the playoffs, I'm out on this too. Aaron Judge is either going to go somewhere where he doesn't have to put as much work in to make the team as relevant as they are, or he's going to stay with the Yankees and do what he was already doing and hope that they get more talent around him. So I don't see him going to New York, to the New York Mets. Even though they are a pretty good team, they would have to basically obliterate the rest of their cap just to bring him in, and they wouldn't have enough money to make enough moves to solidify their core to have a good team that would go on a run.
That's the beauty, Drew. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap.
I know, but they still have to have revenue to pay it, though. I mean, there's still checks and balances in there. You still like supply and demand. Like, you got to be able to have the money coming in to pay for it. So if you're not selling the revenue and tickets, like, you're just going to be out of pocket on it and be the negative somewhere. So there's still business decisions that have to be made, though, man. There might not be a cap, but there still has to be decision making that has to be made. So I still see it as there's a gray area cap that we just don't know completely about. There's a cap somewhere. But no, sir, Melvin, he's staying home with the Yankees. Sorry, Drew. So he agrees with you there, Joey, on that one. Let's go Leafs, says Melvin Turismo.
Melvin, I was just getting to like you. Come on.
Yeah, man. Melvin, where the Leafs are right now, they are second in the Atlantic Division, but they're 14-5. They still have a ways to go to be considered as a threat there in the NHL. And lastly, for our last midway comment, you guys don't think the Avalanche won't repeat?
That's tough. The Avalanche are really, really solid. But the odds of a team winning the Stanley Cup twice in a row is so rare. I just don't see it happening just because anybody repeating is tough because everybody is going to play you with a target on your back. I just think the Avalanche, I just don't think they do it just because no one really does it. I would love to see them do it. I mean, that would be neat, as long as, my Canes get knocked out before the Stanley Cup. But if my Canes are still in it, then I absolutely want them to lose. But but I mean, it would be interesting to see them make it that far. It's been a while since anybody's repeated.
Yeah, it's a tough league. NHL is definitely a tough league to repeat in because, I mean, health and all that plays a major factor into that too because, the guys take more of a beating in the game of hockey than they do in any other game. The closest one will be football, but football is way more pussified than it used to be. So there's no way you can compare the damage that gets done to you to football to hockey because they have a lot less padding. They're going at a lot more momentum and they have a lot more going on in the game of hockey. So I don't think they'll repeat. The chances are going to be tough, but they do have a stacked team still, but they're in the top 3 of the Central Division, but they're 12-6, barely over 500 right now, in my opinion. So you got two other good teams in the division of the Stars and the Jets that are on top of you right now. So I've got to go out on that one right now, but thank you guys for the comments here for the midway point of the show. Keep them coming. And we'll acknowledge them here at the end, but we're going to go ahead and take this into round 4 and talk about the by the number segment for this show.
Round 4.
And here with round 4, Josh Beckett is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 61 in all of sports history for this by the number segment. How do you feel about this one, Joey? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I think Josh Beckett is a great pitcher, and I think he is one of the best pitchers who have ever reinvented his arm. However, I do not believe that he is the greatest to wear number 61. I am out. I had a really hard time with this one. But I'm going to end up going with Steve Nash. He was a great hockey player. He played 1,060 games, 437 career goals, 5-time All-Star. He is a Columbus Blue Jackets leader in franchise leader in goals, points, games played. And in 2022, his 61 was actually retired by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he once led the NHL in goals scored and hit the 40-goal threshold 3 times. Injuries cut his career short, which in hockey, that's not unheard of. which is probably the only reason that he didn't end up with 500 goals. But that's who I'm going to go with as far as the best to wear 61, as far as best athlete to wear 61.
I mean, that's a good take on it, Joey. I mean, to combat with that take on Josh Beckett. However, I gotta disagree. I'm in. You know, like you, it was kind of tough to come up with an answer for this one, just because there were some other good, notable ones in there as well, like Bill George of the NFL, who wore 61 and had a pretty great career with that. But Josh Beckett's a two-time World Series champion, you know, with the Florida Marlins, the stacked Florida Marlins based on free agency that imploded after that year, but they still got a World Series in 2003. And then he got another one in 2007 with the Red Sox with that special team that year, and went to the LA Dodgers and had a few good years on his way out as well. And like you said, he did rebuild his arm and had to come back from injury. But, you know, in a career, you know, that started in 2001 with the Marlins, and he spent 4 years with the club, it highlighted with that 2003 World Series, and he was named the MVP of that series. And just based on how he played alone in that year, I feel like he would have been the greatest to wear 61, in my opinion. After being traded to the Boston Red Sox 2006, he went 84-47 as a starter, winning a World Series, like I said, in 2007, and was voted to the All-Star team 3 times, which in baseball, even though it's a little bit more of a fan-filled with the writers aspect of getting him in, he did deserve those, you know, those all-star appearances in those years that he had them in 2007, 2009, and 2011. So, and all of those came while he was a member of the Boston Red Sox, as he was a pivotal player in that World Series championship in 2007. So, when I put all that into perspective, he was ALCS MVP in 2007 as well, which was a big reason why they even got to that World Series, and was the wins leader in that season. Had it not been for Josh Beckett's impact in 2007, the Boston Red Sox wouldn't have even made it to the World Series that year. And that's why I have to give him the best it's ever worn, 61. No matter how long he wore it, he just wore it in his career, and he did a lot of good things with that number.
Yeah, I should correct myself. I said Steve Nash. I meant Rick Nash because my dumb self was thinking of the basketball player. I don't know why. But no, Rick Nash. No, I mean, I absolutely agree that Josh Beckett is by far one of the best baseball players and one of the best pitchers. And frankly, yeah, I mean, he definitely was a huge impact in a lot of those World Series that those teams won. To your credit, you did say World Series, which I should specify Rick Nash did not win a Stanley Cup. However, he did win a gold and 2 silver medals for the Canadian hockey team. So he did win some level of championship, but he played for the absolute abysmal Blue Jackets, and that's why he didn't win a Stanley Cup.
It's kind of like Archie Manning with the Saints. You know, had he not spent all that time with the Saints, he might have been able to play for someone else who was a contender, you know, back in the NFL days. But,
right.
you know, but I mean, that's still, you know, looking it up and looking into Rick Nash, I mean, it's still a good pick by you. So, I mean, you know, it's definitely a good argument. Let us know in the comments, fans, what you think. Do you agree with Joey that Rick Nash is the best one to wear 61, or was it Josh Beckett? But with that said, let's go ahead and carry this momentum into the next round and take it into a special bonus round that we have for this episode.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Absolutely. The surprise, it was indeed a surprise, as the Washington Commanders could have done a better job by the way they honored Sean Taylor this past Sunday at FedEx Field. With that being said, Joey, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement? Are you in or are you out on it?
Dude, I can't believe we even have to talk about this. Like, this is just so unbelievably disrespectful. I am in. What the hell is Dan Snyder smoking? Like, seriously, a wire mannequin? Like, this is one of the best players in your franchise's history. And you're going to sit there and just put a wire mannequin out there and be like, oh, yeah, we're totally honoring him. It's, you know, cool, whatever. When, like, you literally put a Nike jersey on there, which back when he played, it would have been an Adidas jersey. So you're already not historically accurate. You literally, it looks like you, like, signed some intern who like first day on the job and you were like, hey, like, look, I said this, that we were going to do this. And honestly, I pulled it out of my ass. I didn't think that we were actually going to do it. So I need you to go to the team store and I need you to find his jersey and I need you to pull it out and then find a mannequin like somewhere in a closet somewhere, put it in this glass box and I'll deal with it later. Like, no, this is some bull is what this is, because you didn't even take the time to put his signature tape around the face mask. Like, this is some brutal disrespect from a team that should be genuinely honoring someone who was so impactful to their franchise. This is someone who, you know, literally was one of the best players to ever grace a football field, and you literally did it for some good PR because your entire team right now is the laughing stock of the NFL. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand why we did this. It just doesn't make sense. And the fact that we're having to talk about it is even more ridiculous. I can't believe we have to have this conversation. Like, I would prefer not to. Like, just do the man justice, honor him the right way, and go from there. I cannot believe that we're even having this conversation. This is some bull. Oh man, I wanted to sell the team so bad.
I know, man, but for historical purposes, I just felt like it was best to cover this one, and especially for my take on this one, when it comes to the way that they honored Sean Taylor this past Sunday, I definitely feel they could have done a better job. I'm in on this as well. It's really sad, as someone who is a lifelong fan of the team, to see the things that we saw this past Sunday with the way that they acknowledged Sean Taylor. It looks like that they just went to Dick's Sporting Goods, picked out a mannequin, threw a uniform and a helmet on it, and just rolled with it. For all the hype that we had for the monument on Sean Taylor, we should have had something better as fans of the team, but not only the fans of the sport of football, because so many people outside of the fan base in Washington who are still loyal to them and have still stayed with the team, considering everything that's gone on over the past few years and before that. There's so many people out there that were fans of Sean Taylor before he even got there from what he did in Miami, in college, with the super team that was in 2001, winning that championship, but also for that magical hit that he had on the punter in the Pro Bowl. Like, that should have been what the statue was, him making that tackle, or at least the positioning of him making that tackle. It's been historically said by watching other shows that it only takes like 4 to 6 weeks to really make a decent statue, and you can do that out of paper mache, some spray paint. You can do it really cheap and still make it look good. And for all the hype that they put on this, like, they've had time to put this together, and you already had planned this out before. But just like when they retired his number a while back, they only planned that out 4 days in advance before they did it. So all of this last minute decision making by Dan Snyder in this franchise, you can't put it past him in the way that they've made the decisions over the last 20 some years since he's been there. From the moment that he came in and was dealing with the coaching hire of Norv Turner from the previous ownership and Jack Kent Cook, he treated him like trash to where he kicked him out, before the end of the 90s were over. So when you think about how Dan Snyder has made business decisions ethically, well, I would say non-ethically made business decisions, this doesn't surprise me. But based on the way that they hype this up for what Sean Taylor meant to this team, I mean, RG3 has a statue outside of Baylor, and he was only there for a few years and did some big things there, and he has a statue there. Peyton Manning has a statue outside of, with the Colts. Even Nick Foles, the backup quarterback in Indianapolis who won a Super Bowl, Philadelphia, has a statue at Philadelphia's field. So when you think about other ways people are being honored and they didn't have as much of an impact to that franchise as Sean Taylor did. No, he didn't win a Super Bowl with them, but he had more impacts to that franchise in and out of the game, in the community. And for all the bad things that were talked about him when this all first started about him potentially being in a gang or whatever, which was all BS because he wasn't. Like, he didn't deserve all that, and he deserved better when it came to a memorial representation of his career. Now, if this is a temporary fix, I do like how they displayed his uniform, the fact they displayed his actual legit uniform. But that shouldn't be the final memorial of Sean Taylor. Put his uniform on display, but actually have some type of memorial that honors him in the right way that he deserves to be honored for this team.
Well, they didn't even do anything at like halftime. And it's not exactly historically accurate, because whereas it's Adidas pants and Adidas shoes, it's a Nike jersey. So it's not historically accurate as far as the jersey goes, because it would have been an Adidas jersey as well. But this is just beyond disrespectful. And it's not like they said that, hey, we're going to put up something temporary on this day because this is the day that everything went down. It was, oh yeah, no, this is going to be the permanent installation here. And it is, this is what we're going to do. And this is the permanent thing that we're going to be. And it's just, this is ridiculous. I can't believe that Dan Snyder would do this and not expect to face repercussions for this. I just don't. This is just something like, if this happened to my team, like, because I'm not even Commanders fan, but if this happened to my team, I would be rioting right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, that's what I want to do. But based on the profession that I'm in and, trying to uphold the brand as much as I can while also trying to build a future, the most I'm going to flirt with that is growing my hair out right now. I'm not going to mess with this whole situation, because if I was 10 years younger, maybe, but I'm trying to put my energy in the right way. And with right now being a little under the weather, I'm definitely not going to entertain this stuff even more than what we're doing. Because yes, I agree with you that it sucks that we have to talk about it, but as a fan of the team right here, Joseph, and I'll pull it out one more time for the fans because they love it every time I do it. There it is, the half sleeve tattoo of it all. So it's a lot more than what I can show on the camera right now, but maybe sometime I'll upload a picture to the reel of things here and show it to you guys. But with that being said, we've definitely gone through now 5 rounds of the show. We've only got one more round left, and that is the final round.
Final round.
And here, Joey, in the final round, a game that we had a couple nights ago, the Sunday night game in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers would have upset the Eagles Sunday night if Aaron Rodgers was able to finish the game. How do you feel about this one? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I loved watching this game. It was a good game. But as we very well know, and as I have the record saying, I don't love dealing in hypotheticals. And so for this, I am out. Aaron Rodgers came out the other week and said that he had been playing with a broken thumb for the past couple weeks, which within and of itself is very commendable. I think that, going out there and playing with an injury is something that a lot of players don't do now. I know that there's a lot of players who go, oh man, I stubbed my pinky toe and now I don't want to play no more. And that's infuriating, because when you go watch a sporting event, you want to see the best players on the field. But I think Aaron Rodgers at this point was just in too much pain to continue. And even if he would have stayed out there, and even if he would have kept playing, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers was good enough to keep going. There were several, like the last 2 drives, he was like, kind of hobbling out onto the field. He wasn't really like, jogging like he normally does. You could tell he kind of had a limp to him. And even then the defense was playing good enough. When Love came in, the Eagles defense really kind of stiffened and went with a bend, don't break. And defense wins games. And I think that defense, regardless of whether Aaron Rodgers was in there, regardless of whether Love was in there, I think that defense just at a time that they needed to stood up and played well. And so, no, I don't think that the Green Bay Packers finish the upset. I think, maybe they go down and they get pretty close with Aaron Rodgers and maybe, make a run for it and then get stopped on, fourth down. And they do a turnover and downs, but I just don't think that they would have pulled it. It would have been close. It would have been really close, but yeah, I just don't think they pull off the upset.
With this and based on some facts that have come out, I've kind of been back and forth with this one since Sunday night when thinking about this, since I came up with this topic for it. But I actually disagree with you on this one. I am in on this one, my man. When I put all this in perspective and I think about everything, they were only down by 7 points at halftime. They were down 27-20. And Aaron Rodgers admitted on the Pat McAfee show earlier today that when he got hit early in the game, and that's when it all started. He thought it was a muscle that had been pulled, and he was trying to stretch it out at halftime. Goes back out after halftime, and just the success was not there. It kept getting worse, and he got hit one good time, and he couldn't breathe well. He's already, like you said, been dealing with the thumb, but he's been dealing with that since week 5, actually, we learned today, as he was talking about that on the Pat McAfee podcast earlier today when I was listening to it. So since week 5, he's been dealing with a thumb injury in London. So that's over, almost 2 months now he's been dealing with that thumb injury, which kind of makes sense why he's been turning the ball over a little bit, because he can't get that grip on it. He's been taping it up and doing the best that he can. He's admitted before that he's been playing with other broken fingers and things that have affected him. But with this, it's definitely evident that not only that this past injury he suffered this past weekend, but the thumb has been affecting him, as he has not been as effective as he has the past 2 seasons when he became a back-to-back MVP of the league. So with all that being said, he's admitted that he doesn't want to wear a glove. He's not going to do that, so he's just going to deal with it. But what we saw from Jordan Love that Sunday night, he looked pretty good. He just needed a little bit more time probably to move the ball down the field, and hasn't worked with the number 1 team that much because Aaron Rodgers has been number 1 for quite some time. But we do know one thing: Aaron Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder. He's going to stay out there as long as he possibly can, because he already went through this with Brett Favre before and watched him for 3 seasons. He doesn't want to have to be in that situation to where he gives up the reins. He wants to try to go out as gracefully as Brett did by, whether it's going to go play for another team or just leaving on his terms. And based on the contract that Aaron Rodgers signed this past offseason for an additional 4 years, he's not going anywhere anytime. He's not going to another team. If he goes anywhere, it's retirement. And based on what his answers were today, retirement is not in the near future for him. And he will be playing this Sunday, according to him. He's giving it a go against the Bears. So it can only get worse from here. But at some point, you're going to have to say, if he keeps getting banged up, you may have to shut it down for the rest of the year. You're 4-8. And out of your last 5 games, you do have a pretty decent shot at it actually finishing this out pretty strong, because the way your chances of winning are the rest of the season against the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Lions are pretty high. I see him winning at least 3 out of those 5 games with with Jordan Love if he played. If Aaron Rodgers plays, they have a chance to win all 5 of those games if he were 100% healthy, but he's not. So he can probably win about 4 out of these 5 games. I see them losing to either the Vikings or the Dolphins, but the Vikings have been exposed within the past couple of weeks after playing the Cowboys and some other teams too, especially playing the Commanders. The Commanders, luckily, my team have been scaring the what out of teams this year, and even though they're only 2 games over 500, they're proving that the NFC East is the best division in professional football right now for the first time in over a decade, and it's been great to watch.
Yeah, and I said that what was that, last podcast or the podcast before? Like they record wise have the best record in the entire NFL. Like it is crazy how good that division is. And it wouldn't surprise me if we end up with 3 teams from that division in the playoffs. They're that good.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch. And I called it on Snowman Show yesterday and said that with 3 wildcard teams, it's possible that we have a division champion out of the NFC East, and the other 3 teams are the other 3 wild card teams. They keep it up, and the rest of the football league in NFC goes the way it is. It'll be the first time in history, but don't put it past them the way that this division's rocking and rolling this year. These wins that Washington are getting are very, very important ones, as well as the Giants too. The Cowboys are up in there too, and if they would have lost to the Packers Sunday night, the Eagles would be a lot less. It would have a lot less of a lead. This would be a little bit tighter, but this division is still pretty tight. Anything can happen with these last 5 games in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've actually watched more of y'all's division than I have of the Carolina Panthers this year, but like I just can't bring myself to watch Carolina Panthers games this year. I just want to throw up every time I turn it on, and I try to watch a quarter of it, and then I'm just like embarrassed, and like I just want to like crawl into the fetal position and just start crying. So it's not been a fun year for us Carolina Panthers fans, but yeah, I've watched a lot of football this year, mainly because I got to keep up with you. And so I've tried to watch more this year, and man, that division has not disappointed. Every game that I've watched from that division, regardless of who it is, has been thoroughly impressive. Even the Cowboys win against the Vikings was just bewildering. I mean, come on. I mean, they blew them out. I mean, the Vikings are a really good football team, and they blew them out of the water. It was crazy. And I was watching that game with Minnesota Vikings fans. It was not a good time for me.
Well, things can only get better though, my man. You keep watching football, you'll keep seeing some great stuff. I'm glad I was a little bit of a motivational factor to get you a little bit more into other teams within the league to keep you sharp within your historical factors of coming onto the show and being able to talk sports. But with that said, before we take this any further, we got to take this to the Vault of Fame to acknowledge something right quick.
Acknowledge me.
And that's right. With the Vault of Fame on this episode, Joey Raymond is now an 8-time Vault of Fame inductee here for episode 61. My man now goes up on the leaderboard now with the 8th appearance. He's still in second place, but inching closer to Rob Johnson for first, as he is 8 episodes in second place, followed by James Brown in third with 4. Darrell Owens, Corey Mann, and P. Alexander Wiley tied for fourth place with 3 appearances, and 12 panelists tied with 2 appearances for the 5th place spot. Don't forget, up next, we have episode 62 next week at 8:05 p.m. Eastern on the 6th of December, as Kyle Nash returns for episode 62 for his second appearance here on the In or Out Sports Debate. You can always check it here on Tuesdays on the LegacyMaker Sports Network platforms, on these handles listed here on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and as always, LegacyMakerSports.com. The In or Out Sports Debate is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the audio platforms listed here on Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Anchor.fm, and you can download them individually on iTunes. And as always, you can check out the video productions that I have here with SIRTOBA.com on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and coming soon, we'll have some things non-sports related on YouTube. For the struggle is real to be awesome. We are here for episode 61 as we're about to wrap things up here with Joey Raymond. We'll take this into the final word here in a second, but we've got to, you know what? Actually, we'll take it into the final round, the final word first. Then we'll acknowledge the comments from the fans. We'll do something a little bit special in this one. The final word is now. And here with the final word, my man, of everything we've talked about on this episode coming off of the Thanksgiving holiday. What are you thankful for, my man? Let's go ahead and take this into the final word. Let's see what you
I just want to give a shout out to my other alma mater. These guys over here on the towel over here. So Christiansburg High School actually is one win away from going to their first state championship since this magical towel, when I was actually at said school. And so good luck to them this weekend. They're playing Heritage High School up in Lynchburg. And it was a lot of fun. So they played Lord Botetourt High School, which is right down the road from me. And so I was actually able to go watch the game before the one that they're going to play on Saturday. And it was a lot of fun to be able to see a lot of friends from high school, and, kind of catch up with, with a lot of, some of the guys that I went with. And then I got to catch up with my old band director, because I was on the drum line for them. And it was a lot of fun to be able to watch them. So good luck to them. Hopefully they win. And if they do go to the state championship again, I will definitely be there. I don't care how far I have to go to that. It'll be a lot of fun to watch that. So good luck to them.
That's definitely a good one there, my man. And, with you getting your second alma mater, and there's a way to throw that one in there. So great job with that. I'll take this into mine too with my final word with this. And just coming off of Thanksgiving weekend, just want to, give thanks to everyone, especially Joey, for being here. This is the 56th episode of 2022. So definitely crushed a lot of episodes. 52 weeks in a year, but 56 episodes here on the In or Out Sports Debate, as we have crushed it. And I couldn't have done it without you guys, the fans' participation, the panelists who've come in here. So as we've coming off Thanksgiving weekend, just want to, give my thanks to you guys, to the friends and family that, had me over this past weekend. Thank you. It was definitely a great weekend for me. Besides not feeling well the past day or so, I'm starting to feel a little bit better this evening. So things are getting a little bit better on that side. It's just that time of year where things are floating around in the air and you never know. But 61 episodes are nearly in the books. We got 62 next week. I'm definitely excited for it. And speaking of things that we're excited for, Joey, let's go ahead and acknowledge the comments from the fans with the medial mayhem, or the mayhem culmination for the last part of the comments. And as we acknowledge the final comments here on the show, we got a decent amount. Michael Williams from Facebook, my buddy here, is saying, what's up, fam? I made it. Well, thanks there, Michael, a.k.a. Jonah, because he looks like Jonah Hill. We all call him Jonah. So what's up, Jonah? Thank you for making it to the show, my man. I appreciate it. Derek Medea comes in with, I agree with Drew on Josh Beckett. He was solid for all three teams he played for. So thank you there, Derek, with that. And with that, I'll give you that. Absolutely, my man. So thank you again for the comment. Joey loves it too there. Melvin Turismo comes in with, who the hell is Rick Nash?
Got to watch more hockey, bro.
Yeah, you need to watch more hockey. And know this.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Absolutely, because you should have done a little bit of Googling before you asked that question. As you could have got that answer before we acknowledged it, my man. So come on, do better there, Melvin. You were doing great up until that point. We missed you, Sean, says Jonah. Definitely, we definitely do. Fans in Washington. Jonah's a really big Washington fan as well. So we definitely do miss, Sean Taylor in Washington. His DNA is all over that team for what he did in the short time he was there. Definitely had a major impact in and out of that team throughout the NFL. Derek Medea says the Redskins, the formerly known as Redskins, could have done a better job. Dan Snyder is trash.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. Could not agree more.
I think if Dan Snyder was watching this, he'd have a problem with this.
You can't handle the truth.
Absolutely. So, come on, man. Do a better job with honoring your talent. Snyder went off the rails with this one on Sean Taylor, but what else can we expect from him? Very true, Melvin. You recovered there. So very, very true. Good job with your recovery there. I appreciate it. Snyder has always been trash, says Stephen Fanton.
I would agree. The way that he has handled that team. I mean, the Washington for the longest time was a perennial powerhouse. And when Snyder took over, they just went into the garbage can and have not been able to get out of it.
I can just imagine Charles Barkley looking at Snyder and saying this.
That's terrible.
You know, that's absolutely terrible. Like, come on, man. So with some more comments we got here, Jedediah Jetson comes in with Joey really doesn't want to talk about this subject.
Yeah, I kind of went on my soapbox there for a minute.
Oh yeah, you did. You were definitely on your soapbox for a second. Laughing at Joey, says VFE Productions. Great episode, guys. Joey really didn't want to talk about Sean Taylor though. Wow, like everybody's really acknowledging that right there. Joey went to 2 colleges, says Jed.
Well, technically, yeah, no, but I was talking about my high school. I went to
so that's definitely another one because I thought you were talking about college too. So Jed and I, you were on the same page.
Yep, Christiansburg High School. Yeah, that's my bad. But I did go to community college before I flipped over to tech. So technically, I did go to 2 colleges. Technically.
Ryan McCarthy, thanks for joining us here, there, sir. He says, watch more hockey, especially New Jersey Devils hockey. They're a wagon. That's the area that Ryan's in. So he's a fan for that team. He's also a Jets fan as well. So they're having a pretty decent season. Mike White is not Zach Wilson, but that's a story for another day. So thanks for joining us there, Ryan, with the comment. And definitely for this, as he was responding to this guy right here, one saying, who in the hell was Rick Nash? Well, Ryan McCarthy comes back with watch more hockey. So thank you, Ryan, for having our back with that one. Stephen Fanton has this for our last comment, says Aaron Rodgers will retire at the end of the season. How do you feel about that one, Joey?
I don't think he will. I think he's I mean, for everything that Aaron Rodgers is, I don't think that he's gonna stop until they put him in the ground. Like I think he's worse than Tom Brady. Like at least Tom Brady had the acknowledgement of, hey, I need to take a step back, and then he retired. And yes, of course, he came back to football, but Aaron Rodgers has been in constant denial that he's going to ever retire. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is gonna, like, they're going to have to pull him off the football field in a stretcher. Aaron Rodgers isn't just going to retire.
I don't know. I feel like I disagree with you now a little bit, just because, like, you know, the type of injuries he's been racking up over the past few seasons, and he was staying tough throughout those 2 MVP years. But, you know, as you realize your body's getting older, he hasn't had cucumber ice cream and done the crazy diet things that Tom Brady's done, or done the crazy workouts on a more regular basis. Aaron Rodgers is more of a hippie than, you know, any other quarterback in the league. So, you know, he probably does different medical treatments to get himself, you know, to heal a little bit better. But at the same time, I don't feel like he's going to be like Brett Favre and, you know, and kind of stick it out as long as he did, or definitely as long as Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers still has a few more years before he hits 40, but I think he's going to play another couple of years. It's definitely not going to be the end for him this year. He's going to want to try to improve on this year, seeing as he's a back-to-back MVP these past 2 years leading up to this, now having this rough year. He's going to try to come back. Now, if he has a year like this year, next year, I can see him retiring after next year. But he's got a young core of receivers and talent on that offense that it's going to take a little bit of time to build. And watching Christian Watson have 6 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks has been huge. So he's had 2 touchdowns a game on average the past few weeks. So he's been doing great here in the short time. So I don't see him retiring at the end of the season. I'm sorry, Stephen. Last one.
If anything, I think he finishes out this contract, if anything.
Well, yeah, he's still got a few more years after this one on it, so we'll see. Would you rather have how do you say that? Because I know they had that on the podcast when I was watching Pat McAfee show earlier, because he's a major.
I always butcher it. I can never pronounce it right.
Ayahuasca? I don't know. It's the best.
I think Ayahuasca.
We'll just go with that. Ayahuasca. Would you rather have Ayahuasca or avocado ice cream?
I'm gonna go with neither. Both of those sound disgusting.
It sounds like a rough experience. So yeah, I'm gonna go with neither one of those as well, Ryan. I would rather be pleasantly hefty and not play quarterback myself and just enjoy life. He says, ayahuasca. Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. I think Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna continue to butcher this, even if you put the right pronunciation in there. I think we're hopeless.
We're trying the best we can, Ryan. We're doing the best we can with it. But thanks for helping us out with it as we approach towards the end of this show. But guys, we've had 6 great rounds here on the In or Out Sports Debate. 5 rounds, 2 bonus rounds. Thank you again, Joey, for being here. 8-time Vault of Fame inductee there, my man. We'll have you back in a couple weeks before Christmas, get you in a couple more times this year. So definitely thank you again for making the time and having a blast with me as we have now reached through 61 episodes of this show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I honestly, I can't get enough of this. This is so much fun. And like anytime you want me on here, you just let me know and I'll be here. If I'm available, I'll be here. At least you tried. That is my philosophy on life. At least I tried.
My man, on that note, we've had one great episode here on the In or Out Sports Debate. We only have one thing left to do, and that's look at one badass outro. From my guy, Joey Raymond, to my side, I am Drew Willingham. Everybody stay safe out there in these streets.